There is a wind on Mykonos known as the Meltemi. It sweeps down from the north in the summer, uninvited. It bends the tamarisk trees, slams the shutters, and sends tourists indoors while fishermen head home early. I grew up with that wind. To me, it was more than just weather. It was a voice in my home. Today, two of us look at the same island, from two different shores. This is Salt and Story. I am Andromeda Zouganelis. Annika, thank you for being here. The first time we spoke, you told me something I have not been able to put down since. You said you were homesick for a place you had never set foot in. I want to start there.
You don't waste any time, do you?
The Mediterranean taught me. We talk for hours. We just don't waste the first minute.
Then, yes. Homesick for a place I'd never been. My yaya left Mykonos in the years after the war. A girl, really. She crossed an ocean and built a whole life in a country that wasn't hers. And she did it the way Greek women do. Quietly. Completely. With a kitchen as her embassy. I grew up in that kitchen. So I grew up Greek. But I grew up Greek second-hand. Translated. I knew the smell of an island I'd never smelled in person.
And I knew the island. But I think I forgot the smell. Because it was just the air. You don't notice the air.
That's the trade, isn't it? You had the real thing and stopped seeing it. I never had it and never stopped looking.
Let me tell you the island the postcards don't sell. People hear Mykonos and they see the white town at midnight, the music, the boats from Saint-Tropez. That Mykonos is real. It is also 4 months long.
And the other 8?
The other 8 is the one I love. The shutters come down, the wind takes over. The men who poured cocktails in July are mending nets and fixing engines and arguing about football in a Cafe Neo with no sign on the door. The whole island exhales. You can hear your own footsteps in the old town. That is when Mykonos remembers what it is. A working rock in a hard sea. It was poor for a very long time, Annika. The glamour is a costume it learned to wear. Underneath, it is a fisherman.
See, my yaya never told me about the glamour. There wasn't any to tell. Her Mykonos was the hungry one, the before. She left because there wasn't enough. So the island I inherited isn't the party. It's the leaving. It's the suitcase. When I picture Mykonos, I picture a woman with her back to it, walking toward a boat.
That is the most honest sentence anyone has said about my home in years. Here is where we meet, though. The food. Because food is the one thing she could carry. Tell me what survived the crossing.
Kopanisti.
Of course it did.
For anyone who doesn't know, help me.
Kopanisti is the soul of Mykonos on a spoon. A soft cheese, aged, worked by hand, left to ripen until it turns sharp, peppery, almost angry. It bites you back. We spread it on epoxy mati, a barley rusk, with a little tomato and oil. We call that mostra. It is the taste of the island in one mouthful. Salt, sun, a little defiance.
My yaya made it her whole life, in a kitchen in America, with American cheese to start from. And it was never right. The cheese was wrong, the air was wrong, the bacteria in the room were wrong. Kopanisti is half cheese and half where you make it. She knew. She'd taste it and shake her head and say, close. Every single time. Close.
Because you cannot ship the island.
You cannot ship the island. But here's the thing I've made peace with. Close was the recipe, the reaching for it, that was the heritage. She wasn't failing to make Kopanisti. She was making homesickness, and she was feeding it to me on a spoon. And it worked. It put the island in me.
We have a word you would like. Nostos. It is the root of nostalgia. It means the longing to return home. Your grandmother could not return, so she cooked the nostos instead. She made the journey out of food because she could not make it out of distance.
That's exactly it.
So let me ask you the real question, the one underneath. Is a homeland a place, or is it a practice? Because by blood and birth, the island is mine, but by want, by the reaching, it might be more yours than mine. I stopped reaching. I had it. You never stopped.
I think a homeland starts as a place, and becomes a practice the moment someone has to leave it. For people who stay, it's geography. For people who go, it has to become something you can do. A dish, a song, a way of grieving, a way of welcoming. Otherwise it dies in one generation. My yaya turned Mykonos into a verb so it could survive the ocean.
A verb, yes. And here is the gift you don't know you gave me. I am about to do the same thing she did. I am leaving the Mediterranean basin for Tenerife, for the Canaries. Another island, another volcano, another people who learned to live with the sea and the wind. And I have been afraid of becoming the woman with her back to the island, walking toward the boat. But you just told me she wasn't walking away. She was carrying it forward. There is a difference.
There's all the difference. You're not leaving Mykonos. You're about to teach it to a new kitchen.
You know what we should agree on before I let you go?
Tell me.
That neither of us is right. The island is not the place I was born, and it is not the place you imagined. The island is the table. Wherever the table is set the old way, the rusk, the sharp cheese, the tomato that tastes like August, somebody's grandmother insisting you eat more than you want. That is Mykonos. It is portable. It always was. The fishermen knew it. The emigrants knew it. We just forgot to say it out loud.
So a homeland is just a table you keep setting.
A table you refuse to stop setting, even when the cheese is wrong. Especially when the cheese is wrong.
Yaya would have liked you.
I would have liked her copanisti. All of it. Even the close. Annika Merlot, everyone. Find her wherever the alignment gets honest. I've been thinking, this whole conversation, about a cousin of Mykonos. An island to the east where people live past 100 and nobody seems to be counting. They don't reach for the old life. They never left it. That is its own kind of secret, and it is the kind that lives in the food. Next time, Ginger Pelirroja sits at this table, and we go to Icaria, where the Mediterranean stopped aging. Until then, set the table the old way. Let the cheese be a little wrong. Feed somebody the long way home. This has been Salt and Story. I am Andromeda Zouganelis. Stay.